We are back once again with another Battlebots review. Another amazing episode of Battlebots has come and gone, and my god, amazing is an understatement. But let's not waste any time, let's jump into this. So the opening fight is between Cobalt and Deathroll, and oh my god, what a beautiful matchup. Cobalt and Deathroll are probably two of my most anticipated robots. Two robots that have been around before that were, I believe, that were in my top 10 returning Battlebots video. That were so good. They were incredibly good robots in the past, and I was so hyped because this meant that this fight could be so destructive. Now, Cobalt came out with some new wedgelets, though I was a little bit worried as these look even flimsier than Blip's piano keys. And then Deathroll comes out, and oh my god, that spinner, just as large as I remember, if not bigger. That thing is enormous. It's such a great bit of character from Deathroll. This alligator with the knife on the back and just an absurdly large vertical spinner. It's great to see it back here in Battlebots. Now the fight started and there was an insane first hit from Cobalt. So Cobalt right out of the gate was getting some amazing hits, but Deathroll, as ever, was proving that reliability just like they did in their fight with Endgame back in the day. So it's great to see that both of these robots aren't missing a beat. However, the fight soon ended. After being pinned with the pulverizer, Deathroll wasn't able to get back up. I couldn't believe it. Deathroll was stuck. It tried to get back up. It clearly wasn't dead, but it was in such a position that it just couldn't get the momentum to get back up. This was an incredible opener. Easily had to have been my favourite opener so far. It was quick, sure, but the hits delivered made it such an amazing blast of a match. I'm shocked to see Deathroll go out like that, but the team behind Cobalt is a masterclass, so I feel like if there was ever a robot that was going to do this to Deathroll, it would be a robot like Cobalt. Now, Cobalt has a very interesting schedule. Minotaur will definitely be a very tough fight, but I could see them very well going 4-0 here. I mean, they are looking more dangerous than ever before, and that spinner, wow, does it leave a mark. Now, Deathroll definitely has a chance here to redeem itself with its own schedule. I think the Monsoon fight in particular, though, will be their biggest obstacle and will hinge Deathroll's chances of progressing, as obviously a 2-2 record would be far less promising for them than if they could manage 3-1. Next up, we had Claw Viper versus Ominous. Claw Viper, the package of speed and durability, and I gotta say that, and one new addition to the robot is the Idiot Strap. Basically, they want to make sure that they can have more control points by keeping the robot held up in the air. Kind of similar to how Complete Control would grab a robot like Bombshell and be able to just keep it up in the air if it wanted. This is a very smart idea in my book. Ominous, meanwhile, is a robot that, once again, I was extremely excited to see. With the Omni Drive and the powerful weapon, in my opinion, heading into this, it was the favourite. Now, I gotta say, they said that Claw Viper was faster than ever, and they were not kidding. They rushed in so incredibly quickly. There was some good hits from Ominous to start us off, but a quick flip from Claw Viper and Ominous was flailing. Claw Viper then got another great lift in, and this fight was going a million miles an hour. There wasn't a single dull moment. Claw Viper is so quick, so agile, and was so aggressive that it felt like the fight was going in fast forward. Claw Viper then takes Ominous into the screws where they looked like they were going to get stuck for a moment. Ominous does get a nice hit in, but Claw Viper's aggression means they really don't get to make much of it. Claw Viper then uses Ominous to break the Battlebots before slamming them onto the shelf, before finally leaving Ominous on its spinner to die. That was some incredibly smart driving there. Now this was spectacular. It absolutely blew away any expectations I had heading into this. Ominous got some nice shots in, but this fight was all Claw Viper. Just absolutely better than ever. This fight never lets up, and I'd argue this is looking like one of the best fights of the season. This alone should make someone go watch Battlebots if they haven't already, and it's why I love this show so much. Seeing two unique designs go hard like this is such an incredible sight, and it's why you can never overlook a design. Even if you think it hasn't got a chance, it may very well shock you, and I have to imagine that a lot of people were not expecting Claw Viper to be as good as it was here. Now, Claw Viper's schedule is ruthless. I'll admit I don't like their odds against some of the robots they're up against, but based on their first fights, they really could still pull off some major upsets. Omnus' schedule is actually quite interesting. With the design being as new as it is, this is really going to put the bot through its paces and really test the design out. But it's nothing that makes it seem like it would necessarily flounder. It really will need to redeem itself after that first fight, but it'll be interesting to see how it does in the next few fights. Next up was Bloodsport versus Copperhead, and I knew right away that one of these robots was going to get really messed up, but holy cow, I would not have expected it to go the way it did. I didn't expect it in that way, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So Bloodsport looks so cool. The weapon bar is incredibly thick. Like, that thing looks like it could do a lot of damage. And with the motor being more powerful, it was definitely my favourite heading into this. Despite how good and reliable Copperhead is, Bloodsport is a robot that just does so much damage. I thought that surely Copperhead can't beat Bloodsport here. Like, Copperhead's good, but this is like the new Bloodsport. Now, Copperhead looks relatively unchanged, but I don't blame them for that at all. Once again, I'm sure that there are changes under the hood, but the robot is so consistent, it's so capable that really they didn't need to change anything, even if it's under the hood still the same. And I knew that because of Copperhead's consistency, I couldn't make a clear-cut prediction as to who was going to win. Sure, I was leaning towards Bloodsport, but I knew it was just as likely that Copperhead could pull out a big victory here. Now, both robots avoid each other at first to get up to speed, and holy, my god! One hit, and it was all over. Both robots go flying. Copperhead sent careening to the other side of the battle box from a hit from Bloodsport, while Copperhead's hit to Bloodsport sends it up in the air and breaking apart. Bloodsport was on fire. Man, what a quick and memorable hit. Not an amazing match per se, but that was an amazing, incredible moment. That's the kind of thing I like to see when a fight is short but sweet. I want to see a robot just get completely decimated. Now, I hope that whatever caused Bloodsport to go out that quickly can be fixed for its next fight, but both it and Copperhead are clearly dishing out some serious firepower. Now, Copperhead's schedule looks to be quite tough against robots like Triton and Ripperoni. It seems that Copperhead is being tested against some of the mightiest big spinners this season. But if they can repeat that performance that they just did with Bloodsport, then they may just have this in hand. Bloodsport's schedule does look like it should be able to redeem itself. Beta might end up being one of their toughest opponents based on Beta's durability against Tombstone before, but given Beta lost to Tombstone in that same fight, I have a feeling they might be able to dust themselves off given they don't burn out again. Next up was Lockjaw versus Malice, and a little side note, ever since I got a comment where someone compared Lockjaw's wedgelets to Hell's Angel, my Robot Arena 2 robot, I can't stop seeing it. Now, I mean, if Lockjaw wants some design advice, anything that resembles my robot is off to a bad start if they want to win. Okay, for the record, I'm joking. I know that this is entirely a coincidence. Who the hell's gonna copy my Robot Arena 2 robots? Anyway, Lockjaw came out with the rear plow, and I'll admit, I was a little disappointed at first. I thought the whole point of the new forks was to take away from that rear plow, make it so it wouldn't be necessary anymore. So I'll admit, I was a little bit disappointed to see it back. Now, Malice also came out, and it looked relatively similar to how it was in the last season, but if that weapon is more reliable this time around, it should pack a mighty punch, and I thought that the forks might be helpful if facing Lockjaw's rear plow. Now, the match began, and admittedly, the plow worked really well in this match. It managed to jam up the weapon of Malice, and by the time they turned around, Malice hadn't gotten even a chance to get that weapon up to speed, meaning they got a few good hits in. Now, at some point, Lockjaw's drive seemed to be having some issues and Malice was trying to take control, but Lockjaw refused to give up. This wasn't an explosive spinner-on-spinner fight by any means, but there was a great story to this fight as both robots slowly weakened, but were not giving up, with Lockjaw's drive and Malice's weapon taking longer and longer to spin up. Another great hit from Lockjaw sent Malice in the air, and Malice was on the run with its bar looking to have finally stopped spinning. But then Lockjaw started smoking. It was still going, but it was definitely less powerful, and Malice started hunting Lockjaw down. By the end of the fight, I genuinely didn't know how the fight would go. This was an amazing fight, and Lockjaw really made me see the light with the plow. This is, in my opinion, the best use of the plow so far. Lockjaw ended up winning, but I've gotta say, Malice has nothing to be ashamed of. You know, Bunny, Isoriel, and the rest of the team had an amazing fight here against Lockjaw. It was an incredibly close encounter, and far more methodical than I think most people would expect from a spinner-on-spinner fight. Lockjaw's schedule looks like it'll only get tougher from here on out against the powerful robots they'll be facing. The team, in my opinion, are going to need to step it up even more so if they want to gain more victories, but they're off to a good start, so they do have a bit of hope. Malice's schedule, meanwhile, I have to say, Emulsifier could be their toughest opponents in this. Best of luck to them though, as if they can keep that weapon spinning, then they may walk away winning. Next up was Triton versus Lucky, and oh man, on one hand I was so excited to see Triton in action, but not at the cost of Lucky. Oh my god, it feels like that robot can never catch a break. It really is the antithesis of its name. Now coming out, Triton's bar is terrifyingly big. Like, if I thought the Bloodsport's bar was quite notable, this was... It's freaky, it's terrifying. And being called Tombstone on steroids, while definitely seems like it's really setting up Triton for maybe some unfair comparisons. Like, yeah, I've made comparisons that it's similar to Tombstone, but you don't want to say that it's Tombstone on steroids, because that's a hell of a legacy to follow up. Meanwhile, Lucky's plow looked incredibly durable, and I was hoping that it would help them out in this. Now the fight began, and that spinner gets up to speed quite quickly, but it seemed to be having trouble with landing some big shots. I assume it has something to do with the torque. It just seemed to not be able to follow through when the spinner collided, as Lucky was able to brush off these hits and bully Triton around the battle box. Some more nice hits from Triton, but again, Lucky looked completely unfazed. And throughout the fight, Triton really was not performing as expected. Lucky eventually then ends the fight, much like Claw Viper did, by placing Triton in a way that it couldn't get moving, and was stuck and therefore counted out. Now honestly, this was a great fight for Lucky. Much more conservative than what I would normally expect from them, but this fight worked out perfectly for them. Triton, however, definitely didn't perform as well as I was hoping for. Overall, it was an alright fight. I was definitely expecting more, however. Now, Triton's schedule looks quite tough, but each fight looks like it could be a ton of fun, as they're going to be facing some big, powerful spinners. I really hope we get to see more from Triton spinners in those future fights, because those could be excellent. Now, Lucky's schedule looks to be not insurmountable, but definitely is going to be a very tough challenge for Lucky. I can't say I'm overly optimistic for their chances against robots like Cobalt, but based on this initial performance, I'm not going to count them out just yet. Next up was Jackpot versus Scorpios. Jackpot's weapon looks as killer as ever. That thing really lands a serious shot. It does some major damage, and I had to say it was the favourite for me heading into this. Scorpios, meanwhile, comes out with a mega front dead. Holy cow, that thing looks beefy. The hammer saw also still looks quite nice. Now the fight began, and neither got a major hit at first, but when Jackpot did, it got flipped over, which I was not expecting. Scorpios got a nice dig in with the hammer saw, and then it began to smoke. I thought that was it, but they seemed to be fine, but Jackpot couldn't self-right. Scorpios bullies Ace while Jackpot gets counted out to celebrate the victory, and then right after the buzzer, Jackpot went up in flames. What is with all these robots getting set on fire? I can't believe it. This has been an absolute barbecue here this season. Overall, it was a decent, if short fight. That had to have been a major upset for a lot of people, but Scorpios looks like it has a solid chance against Verts from now on. I'm excited, honestly, to see how they continue to do based on this. And I also have to say, I loved how Diana Tarleton said that she was waiting for a good hit. Look, I'm not saying that was a reference. All I'm saying is time is like a flat circle. Now, weirdly enough, this time the championship hype package was right before the main event instead of before the fight before it, which bit of an interesting change. Also, why is Jake Hewitt and Hydra so... yeah, why are they like this season? Like, in all of these videos, every time Jake Hewitt appears, it's... Anyway, we're on to the main event finally, as Hydra takes on Rotator. Now, Rotator had been having issues throughout the episode getting ready for the main event. It was definitely a great bit of drama to get you excited for what would happen. Was Rotator going to be ready in time? Would they stand a chance against a robot like Hydra if they're not at 100%? Now, Rotator is looking quite good in my opinion, but Hydra's front plow looks incredible. It looks like it's trying to cover all the bases to make sure that Hydra is still one of the best flippers out there, but able to endure some of the hard-hitting shots that they're gonna face against a robot like Rotator. Hydra starts flipping Rotator around, and this really showed what the match was going to be like. Rotator tries to get the weapon up to speed, but some more flips from Hydra ruin Rotator's hopes there of using it. Rotator cannot get a look in here. Hydra keeps on going. It was relentless. And eventually, with one more flip, one of the forks got stuck on the wall, ending the fight in Hydra's favour. Sadly for Rotator, I don't think it was so much radio issues that hampered it, more than just Hydra itself. This was, in a similar vein to Quantum vs Shredderator, an amazing fight for people like me that love watching Hydra go. I mean, there were some incredible flips. Hydra looks to be just as big and badass as ever. It looks so damn cool. But for people who like Rotator, like me, it was a bit sad to see it really didn't get to do much of anything at all. Still, it was definitely a very fun and dominating main event this season, and really goes to show you that Hydra is almost certainly still a favourite to win the Giant Nut. The Waiachi clan is still on the hunt, and I've got to say, you've got to keep a close eye on Jake Hewitt here. Now, Rotator's schedule looks tough as hell. One fight that did catch my eye is that they're going to be fighting Fusion. It seems Rotator this season will really be waging war with the Waiachi clan. Hydra may have won the battle, but the Waiachis haven't yet won the war. Now, looking at Hydra's schedule, a rematch against Tantrum, as well as driving matches against Free Shipping and Saw Blazers mean that, win or lose, it's going to be so much fun to watch these fights go. I honestly cannot wait. Hydra might have one of the most fun-looking schedules of the entire season. Now, overall, I have to say I think this was the best episode so far. I know it's only the third episode, so it might not seem like much, but it really was not just a step above the competition. It was a hop, skip, and jump from the previous episode so far for me. I was loving this episode all throughout, and it truly had some iconic moments and some truly great matches. Honestly, this has been my favourite episode so far, and it's gonna be a tough one to top. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this review. If you did, please be sure to leave a like on this video to show your support. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button to be notified of future videos on the channel, and hit that notification bell, because that does help out. You know, comment and let me know what you thought of this episode, what was your favourite fight, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, guys!